Sure, we'll have a couple people join us a little late, but first of all, for those who don't know, we've been doing some cost saving in one regard, and thank Jenny for spending hours on the phone with Comcast doing that. And we're combining the lab Wi-Fi with the associations. But it has been a challenge on the hardware side, and we were down for a day. But thanks to Harry and Tom yesterday, we got the lab back up and working. And we're going to work on a more permanent solution as the week goes on. But if you hear any complaints, that's kind of what's going on. The printers, in fact, Harry, if you want to jump on and explain, but basically you have to be on machines to get the printer to print down there until we get them back in a network configuration. Do you know which systems?
So can you mute your?
Harry's showing is unmuted.
Much background.
Yeah. The treasure chest winner.
Oh, well, anyway, if you can't print, give me a holler or Harry, and we'll figure that out for you. If you're down at the lab, we'll get that worked out. Next month, we're working on the meeting. I'm not sure who's going to present, and some of that may be affected by the restrictions and where they're at and what's opening up. So for next month, just watch the communicator and we'll get the information out for you. Then we'll probably go on a hiatus for the summer, but we're working on some other options with Buzz here, and I'll keep you informed on that. So with that, that's pretty much the announcements. And I'm going to turn it over to Buzz Brooks. He's prepared a presentation for us called The Effective Detective. For those of you that don't know, Buzz is very well versed in the genealogy part of research. He really helps the genealogy club. He's been involved with that. And so I'm looking forward to his presentation. I'm sure he's got a lot of tricks for us, whether it's genealogy or something else we're researching that will help. And we've got a couple of latecomers that will let hook up and join here. And then Buzz, just take it away when you're ready.
Okay, Tim. I hope everybody can hear me all right, given the flakiness of the internet today. I'm going to have a presentation today. I've entitled it, How to Become an Effective Detective on the Internet. And I want to try to be general in the beginning, and then I'm going to show some specific information related to being a genealogy detective at the end here. So let's get started. Okay. Doing it again. Oh. Now I've got to figure out how to get rid of the Zoom controls at the top that are covering up. I'm going to have to
What the hell happened here?
Stop share. Then I'm going to go and turn on my slides and come back and totally share it. They overlay each other, and it's difficult to do it now. Yeah, now see, I can't get back into sharing. So, okay, you're gonna have to see my list of slides on the side, and I will share the presentation again. Okay,
Hey, Buzz,
yeah,
try going to the top right over to that screen about the fourth icon in. Yeah, to the left, just a touch.
aha. Thank you, Tim.
You bet.
I moved it over. Now I can say, show the slides from the beginning.
There you go.
Okay, everyone got them? I hope.
Looking good, Buzz.
Thank you. And I'm going to just show the talking here. First and most important thing of being a good detective is to try to figure out what are you looking for. You know, if you're dealing with dead people, there's a whole bunch of different things you may want to look up, vital records and medical history, their occupations, etc. And with living people, we're talking again, you may still see that some of their vital records, the birth and parents information, marriage information. You can also look at their social media and associations that they may have joined. You may want to check their criminal records if you're in the dating game to make sure that the person you're going on next Friday night's date with is an upstanding individual. You could be searching on the internet for things like maps. What was the migration history of your ancestors going across the country, or where is today we have some feedback there. I don't know. I don't think it was mine. You can look in general browsers like Google and others, and I'll show you a couple of those, or just tracking historical events. You know, what was the Battle of Appomattox like during the Civil War? And go back and find specific information. So you need to know what your end result you'd like to have is. Like a total picture of when people arrived in the United States, or when did they move to Detroit, and then fill in the gaps. So make sure you write it down when you're getting ready to do your detective work. Also write down what you already know or think you know. Okay, the things might be the name or relatives or addresses for a location. Let's say you wanted to find a particular cemetery. If you know the name of the cemetery, you can maybe get the geo coordinates of it, or events, historical events, holidays. You might be doing some searching on the web for jewelry or machinery, pictures, or even clothing. So, but write down what what you do know and what you don't know. So develop your questions and then figure out how much time you want to spend to answer every one of them. If one of the questions was were my grandfather's eyes blue, you may not want to spend as much time on that as who was my real grandfather. So you got to put some prioritization because your time is worth money. And also, you may have to spend money if you're getting into the very detailed questions you're trying to answer. And so do it from easiest to most difficult. But don't take all the time that you have available. Get started, start looking. And lots of times when you start looking, you'll find something that will lead you to another hint or area that you can identify the answer to your question. There's lots of different small databases that you ought to check out. Things like land grants and ownerships. Maybe you're looking at a Civil War ancestor who was granted land, and you can see those records online. I always like the federal records, the census, both United States and state censuses. And there's gaps there. One of the census was primarily destroyed, but they've rebuilt parts of it. So you can look at that. You might look at probate information. The United States government has a wonderful facility in Washington that you can go and look at all types of different information in our history. I got into the Masonic records of my grandfather and actually pulled up information regarding to his lodge and his indoctrination into that organization. There's another one called the Social Security Death Index that you can get on and get information regarding when a person died and where they died. You can get lots of information from fee-based databases as well. People Finders, I'll show you an example of that. I have subscription to newspapers.com that lets me go back and look at both current and obsolete newspapers and pick out obituary information, who came to the funeral, because that gives me clues that let me go and check for other relatives. Something that a lot of people wouldn't consider would be the funeral home records. They keep excellent records as to the people that pass through their portals. But after you do get your questions written down and develop them, make sure you move on to the next phases. Saying, okay, now I've got the questions, where do I go look for the answers? Well, there's a lot of indexes out there that are available. Indexes like Cindy's List in the genealogy area. Many of the genealogy websites have a product called a wiki, which is a guide to their site. And you're able to click on the wiki and be guided to find where the information is. It also may point you to the free information, so you don't have to pay a annual charge or a monthly charge to get in there. So if you're looking for people, you can check particularly on People Finders. There are also a lot of good, what I call reverse telephone books, where you can take a phone number of someone that might have called but left the number and you don't know who it is, and go back and search on that phone number and find out who the individual is. There's general purpose search engines. I think you all know Google. We had a presentation on that here. They favor fresh content. DuckDuckGo doesn't track or store any of the user information when you've been out there searching, which, if you're searching for an anniversary present, maybe you don't want your tracks to show up. or any other searches you might do. Bing does look at older, more established web pages. And then there's Yahoo, which is quite a bit like Bing. It's kind of a rebadged version of it. If you're looking for foreign browsers, Yandex and Baidu. One is Russian-based and the other is Chinese-based. But I'm always very careful about going into those type of sites. On just any time I get a message now, I look at the source and I look at the address the source came from. And if it's .ru, I know, it's from the Russian networks, and I don't open them. So find an index, because the index can point you to a whole variety of different sites that you wouldn't have thought of. Now, if you're looking for a person, something like People Finders, and this is from a presentation that was given to us by Amy Ehrman. She showed us many times how to get data on living relatives. But, with something as simple as first and last name, it comes up with what the previous locations are, the relatives, phone numbers. You can get all of this information, okay, by going on to this site. Happens to be a fee-based site. Okay, and if you're looking at how people are moving around, this was, our previous locations that people lived in. So if you see someone that you're renting property to, and they've been in 5 or 6 different locations over a shorter period of time, you may want to find out, why are they moving? Are they just leaving or not paying their bill, or looking to upgrade their property all the time? And if you want to get into the details of the background of the individual, you can look at things like aliases. You can look at criminal records, lawsuits, misdemeanors, felonies. Each of the courts have public records that you can log into and pull up, that Buzz Brooks got caught for speeding on such and such a date, and may not want to sell an insurance policy on my car to me. So, and this one here is a free one. It has a lot of information that are interesting to genealogists, all public records, marriages, divorces, death. Family tree records are really interesting. And you can go into these other free government sites and look at things. Maybe you want to look at unclaimed funds and find out if somehow you overpaid your taxes and they want to send you a check for $1,600. Oh, I'm sorry. We all got those. So that's some of the general purpose websites. Going to more specific websites. And what I would like to do is to show you what I have done in the genealogy area. If you remember, I said I want to define the questions first. Okay. Now, Tim, can you see these okay on your screen, or do I need to blow them up?
I can see them, but I imagine it's screen by screen. It might not hurt if you could zoom slightly.
Okay, think I will do that. When I get into the genealogy area, I will, matter of fact, I'm going to go into genealogy right now. I'll go into family tree. Okay, so I stop this share, open another one, and okay, I'll go to my, this is my active screen for genealogy. And I can increase the focus on it. Okay. This is one of the main pages. I have high priority issues, my questions. I'd like to make sure I have the vitals for all of the people in my direct lines. And as you see, I have 7,075 people in the family tree. So I can't do it for all of them, but the people in my direct line, I want to have that information. And for every piece of information I put in, I'd like to make sure I have the sources for all of that information. Where did I get it? How can someone else get it and look at it and make sure that it's validated? Hopefully I can actually get back to looking at an original document, such as a draft card or a birth certificate. And I'll show you some examples there. Marriage date and local location, and who did they marry and what were the kids' names? And then I need to follow up on my direct line for all of the hints that I can from Ancestry, Family Search, and MyHeritage. Those sites will tell you that they have more information about a particular individual, and you can go look at that information, decide if it's valid, and then put it into your database. This database right here is from Family Tree Maker, and I keep it in multiple places. I keep it on my laptop. I keep it in ancestry.com, which is this small logo up here, and I'm logged into it. When I also, I use Family Search, which is the Mormon database. I use that more for research rather than putting my tree out there. I made a mistake early on of putting my tree in the public domain out on Ancestry. And I found out that I had all kinds of errors creeping into it from people adding information that they hadn't verified and hadn't had sources for. You know, I heard my grandmother say that your Uncle Charlie, da 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 da. That's no good. You need to see, you know, if you did have an Uncle Charlie somehow in a birth record, and was he sent to jail for, you know, stealing an apple or something. So these are my key 5 questions that I want to ask for every one of my ancestors. Medium priority items. I had to make a decision early on. Did I want I call it a wide tree, where I go out to 2nd, 3rd, and 4th level cousins? Or do I want a tall tree where I focus primarily on the ancestors going back in time? So I've got a cedar tree versus a low bush. But I've decided on kind of a combo one. I do both, but I've got to keep pruning off some of these real 2nd, 3rd, and 4th generation cousins and turning those trees over to other people to work on. Dates. Dates in genealogy are tough because you can come up to dates where there's a switch over in the calendars, and you've got dual dates up to the year 1752. And then 1752, we pretty much settled, but not in all countries. In our country, we settled on one calendar. I forget if it's Gregorian or, no, I can't remember the other one. Medical data. Medical data is getting more and more important. I have 3 sons, and they're always asking me, did great-grandfather drown have a case of Vitalgo or heart problems or this, that, and the other thing? And that's because their physicians now are asking about family histories. So if we can find the cause of death for 2 or 3 generations back and put it in a manner that you can access easily, that's good. But you also have to do some translation of the terms that were used, and there are dictionaries to help you translate from the old, I'm trying to think of the word there, the older records that the doctors had, death records had written down, like consumption, and figure out what is consumption, what is it today? There's, I put pictures of people, graves, and homes, and it's really important to include those in my mind, because it makes the tree more interesting. And so anytime I can find a picture of someone's gravestone, I make sure I clip it and attach it to their records. As you can see in the upper left-hand corner here, I've got a picture of myself and a picture of my father, okay, that are attached to the tree. And then lower priority. And I don't like doing this, but I have to. Okay, I have to clean up a few records every week. Go through and fix the spelling errors, or make sure that I don't have a lot of duplicate information there. And try to get the relatives, involved. I've peeled off 4 branches of the tree and given them to other relatives to work on and make sure that they do get the sourcing information to keep control of the tree and the accuracy of the data. These are the links I have set up in the tree: Family Tree Maker, Roots Web, Fold3. I've got Family Search and Ancestry. There's archives and the newspapers. Fold3 is a military oriented website. You can go back and look at a lot of the military records. You'll see I've got 3 trees working right now. My tree is Family Tree Maker active. And once I change it over to 2021, it'll be 2021 active. Gardner family, I'm doing some research there. And this was a tree that I had just exported to Legacy, which is another genealogy program. But it didn't export well, so I've killed it here. Okay, This information says, when did you back up and sync your desktop to Ancestry? And it gives me all the dates, tells me whether or not I'm in sync, and marriages and sizes, etc. So let's go look at the next record. I'm trying to remember which one I went to. I think I went to my dad. Okay, I'll go here. People. Lyman Brooks. This is what a tree looks like. It gives you the, and you can change the items that are in here. But these little squares, the blue square means is a family search hint that's been found. And you can go look at that and decide, do you want it? Do you include it in your tree or not? Okay, and by the way, that's all free. You can sign up for Family Search and go do all that research and even, see your tree out there. And this is the Ancestry shaky leaf, they call it. It used to shake, it doesn't anymore. But that means there's 2 hints found. Okay, so if we go and we look at, this is following a hint in Family Search, okay, it will go out to the website and bring up this record. And you'll see it's a legitimate Family Search record because they put numbers on everything. Okay, but down here it says, something's wrong. Person wasn't found, or it's restricted in Family Search. I can see some information, but not much of it. If I go and I look at my grandfather, I'm wondering what's going on here. There. Okay, so that's his. I gotta just get into my password. Come on. I use password protection. Everybody close your eyes. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so all my passwords are open here. This is being a little bit flaky this morning. You got so many passwords these days. It's I think that's what it was. Yeah, if I didn't have a password manager, I wouldn't be able to get in. But now I'm in the Family Search database. And I can get down through this and see, how many changes have been made, when was the last one, who did it. Okay, and if there are any, this information is correct. I know that because I've got other records. There's no christening record, death records, alternate names. Here's the residences when he lived in Keene, New Hampshire. All the kids. Actually, his draft registration is there as well. Residents, military again. Okay, and then you can look here at the kind of the family view. That's my grandfather. I'm the second. Okay, that was his first wife. Okay, he married again. Here's his dad and his mother. Okay, he married Myra, and they had all of these children. And here's my father. Okay. Interesting thing was, this was just at the start of World War II. Every one of them joined up. So there's a lot of military information that I can get. Knew that, like, Herb Brooks from Franconia, New Hampshire, who was on the ski patrol there, joined the mountain troops and was part of the brigades that went through the Italy and up over the Alps and in to fight the Germans. Van was shot through the hip and paralyzed from the waist down on the invasion of Saipan. My dad was wounded going into Leyte. So you basically taking the bones, the birth, marriage, death records, and building stories. Kristen Delaplane, who has developed a lot of storytelling capabilities within our club, gave me a hint one time, and she said, develop a story that can be told in 15 minutes to your grandchildren. So you could be sitting on their bed and saying, did you know that your so-and-so ancestor was an Olympic champion and did this, that, and the other thing? And start to get the older, the younger generations much more involved in where they came from and what they're made of. And, it's an important thing, I think, for families to have this type of capability. Okay, I'm going to move on here. I'm going to trying to remember what I had in my presentation. I can go look at an individual person. I'm going to go look at Lyman, my dad. And here's all of the information that I have in his record, his education, his residence, etc. And this has been mined, most of it from the internet. Some of it is like, now this particular record right here, residence in 1935, it should have information that says that came from the 1940 census, because the 1940 census also had that data. And so I need to go in and put a reference as to where that came from. Military death information, marriage information, and then notes. You can put all kinds of notes in. Okay, he died of a heart attack following injuries received in World War II. And, you've got other data. Where did he graduate from? And why didn't he go to West Point like his grandfather? And interesting things, like he took a year in 1938 and decided to see the US. So he visited Eastern Canada. He started up in New Hampshire, worked his way across the top of the US and Canada, came down the West Coast into northern Mexico, and he hit all but 3 states in the Union. hitchhiking, doing odd jobs, working in restaurants, taking buses, etc. He got arrested twice for vagrancy, worked on a chain gang in Georgia for 2 weeks, and then returned to New Hampshire, and he went back to his job of being a construction supervisor for the state of New Hampshire. The really interesting things to me is I was left a box of letters that he had written to my mother after he joined up in the Army as a volunteer officer candidate. And, you know, he was older than most of the other candidates and had to work his butt off to get through the whole program, but eventually he was commissioned as a second lieutenant and was involved in the battle for Leyte, and came back, and he and I learned the addition tables. He had to relearn them over again and became a cabinet maker after going to some schooling up in New Hampshire, but then had a heart attack, and it was a tough time. I was without a dad for a while there. So we have information. Where's the headstone? Now, let's take a look at some of the media, okay? The first media that's of interest is the birth certificate. I think you can see it's quite old, and I can blow it up here and look at the date and information. This is what I call an original record. It's not an index that somebody typed, etc. It was written by the governmental agency in when he was born in Keene, New Hampshire, and Frank Whitcomb. One of the things you do learn is you learn how to read the old scripts, and you'll get confused with double S's look like an F and other ones. So here's his certificate of birth, who his father and mother were, etc. Then you can look at other information. These are pictures. Here's a picture of him holding me back, and that would be 1940. Okay, that was taken up in probably Franconia, New Hampshire. When you get back to other items, newspaper items, talking about nightlife, where he was a driver up in the White Mountains, and they would patrol the roads up there to make sure that people didn't die, but he was keeping track of how many dead animals he saw. And I guess there wasn't much work going on that night. Draft cards. Come on. Draft cards are real gold mines, for me anyway. Names, who the relatives are, who to contact, who's the employer. And this is the New Hampshire Highway Division. His father was head of that division. And then you get the backside of that data, and you get a physical description. Now we're really kind of figuring out what this guy looked like. I mean, he was 5'11", 172. That's where I got my brown hair that's turned gray, and my eyes, brown eyes from. Okay, and when did he register and where? So you've got those informations, then you've got documents like the letter from West Point, and I haven't turned that one around. But he said, can I get into West Point? My father was there. And they come back and say, no, you're wearing glasses. Glasses are not approved at that point in time. And then you get into separation, you get into government documents like a, I should have kept that. That's a new feature that just came in. Okay, here's the typical image that you get when you cut and paste. I used this clipping capability here that lets you clip individual data or addresses or whatever, or you can take the whole page and put it into like this PowerPoint presentation. And it works really well. And let me just see if you hit Windows Shift S, it comes up and tells me, you know, do you want a rectangular snip of freeform Windows or full screen? So I just hit full screen and it comes up and says, okay, the screen is now saved to the clipboard. So I can go into another program and paste it like into PowerPoint. So it's, you got an interesting capability, makes it really easy when you're dealing with genealogy. Okay, I'm going to stop with the genealogy right now and go back to the presentation and finish that off. Whoops, wrong one. I learned you have to hit stop share every time. Share. Not that one, not that one. Right here. Okay, so we saw that slide. Let me go to the next one. We saw that one. We saw that one. We saw that one. This is a picture of the census. I was looking, you can go back and look at the original documents, and it's really interesting to do that. I was looking for Lyman Brooks and my mother, Beverly Brooks. At that point in time, you always put in their maiden name when you're putting it into the genealogy programs, but in the census, they always called it by the husband's name. You can see it's husband, wife, whoop, come on, and the ages, and where did he live in 1935, and come over here and you can see he was a construction foreman at that point in time for the state of New Hampshire. And you can also see how much money did they make, okay, and how long have they been working. And you've got information regarding the location. So you're picking up a lot of data here. And oh, by the way, I also noticed that my grandfather was living in Franconia at that time. He and my grandmother and 4 of the kids, Herb, Billy, Van, and Fred. And, you know, a lot of them were students, but a couple of, you know, already graduated and were laborers on the highway department again. Guess it's a good thing their father ran the highway department up there. Okay, that's what the tree looks like in Family Tree Maker. Come on, go back. There. Now we're in, I don't know why this is down there. There. These are the public records, okay? You can get in and look at all of those public websites. One of these are the indexes that I mentioned to you. So if you say, I want to look at the Canadian sites, okay, you can go in and click on that. It'll take you to an index. It'll say, do you want census information? Do you want location information, etc.? Same thing with military and whatever. So use the indexes to get to the individual databases you want. Okay, now, so I'm going to just finish up here and summarize that the points that I would recommend, and that would be to make sure you've got 3 or 4 detailed questions that you want to get answered. Write them down, and also write down what you think you know, and then go and first of all verify those facts, and then use those facts to do more searching and find the answers to your questions by looking at index sites that'll get you to your specific location. And an index site like Cindy's List, can have thousands of different categories that you can look at. I mean, numbering systems and Norwegian materials, pets and livestock. It's got a lot of data that will sometimes lead you astray. I see something interesting, like, railroads or Quaker. My wife's a Quaker, so I'd click on Quaker, and it would give me all of these different Quaker subsites that I can go to. It's very easy to get off the path and saying, what was I looking for again? That's why it's important to have those questions written down. Okay. Hopefully I can kill this, kill that. I don't want to do that. I have to stop share for just a second. Tim, I'll be through in just a minute here. Use a search engine. Start there, they'll get you to the index sites. And try to get images of the original documents if you can. Like land grants. What was the plot of land and who were the neighbors? We've had some really good presentations on land records, volume, or things like probate records. And then take the information you found and develop whatever your case is with these newfound facts. Okay, we go to the next one. There isn't one. Should have been, should say questions. Anyone have questions?
I was trying to find that index site that you referred to, and I'm not finding it. How do you get to that index site?
Which one? Cindy's List?
No, the public records search.
Say it again. I didn't.
The public records search.
Oh, the public records search.
Yeah.
Let me go look at that. That was the next to last slide. Come on. There it is.
Yes, that one. Where, how do you, oh, is that, okay, that's the BRB pub. Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Buzz, I have a question. The US search, is that a free search? The one just before the BRB, was that a free search?
No.
Oh, it's not. The US, it is not free.
What they'll do, many of these sites will give you a chance to do 2 or 3 searches.
Oh, yeah, before you pay?
Try it, buy it type
Yeah.
situation. You were talking about this one here,
Yeah,
okay? But usually when you have to sign in and, they're going to say, I'd like, to have a 1 week or 1 month or 1 year subscription. But give it a try. That's why I love having the speakers come in to the genealogy group and show us these tools, because they've got subscriptions to all of them. And you can say, oh yeah, that one's a great one. I'd use that all the time. But would I use the one for tracking how people have moved around, a particular city? Well, maybe not, But to a realtor or a renter, that could be very useful. And I gotta just kill that. Yeah. It's from Tucson, AZ. I love those caller IDs that don't tell you anything.
It is fascinating how much you can find in the public records. Sometimes it's just getting through to the right page that gets frustrating, but it is amazing what you can get for free. Another trick I do use occasionally, Buzz, is I'll do a Google search, and like you say, they'll give you 2 or 3 free shots, and if you do need it the next week, you go on to the next search engine and they'll give you 2 or 3 too.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. I'm going
If you're
to.
as cheap as I am, it works. Sometimes it has its disadvantages too. So
it's playing the system, right?
you have to sometimes if you don't use it a lot. I do rental comps as an example, and I could pay for an subscription, but I only need that every couple months and just 1 or 2, and so I'll do that for that type of research. So it's all what your need is and what your repeat need is going to be, whether you actually subscribe or but most areas will give you a couple, 3 different competitors that'll let you try them for free. So.
And also the big fee sites like Ancestry and well, Family Search has it obviously too, but there are free sections of Ancestry. The full subscription to Ancestry is, I don't know, $395 a year for US and where it's a worldwide subscription. US one is cheaper than that. But you can still get in there. Any of the government information, they have as free information. You've paid for it in your taxes, so. But you can build a very detailed profile of a person and where they live and what their occupations are. The ones I love are city directories, Tim. I can go into a city directory in 1910, for example, and find that so-and-so was a wagon driver and lived at such and such street. So now I pick up his spouse's name and his occupation and where he lived in that time frame. They're really interesting. I get a lot of data there. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you for listening.
Well, thank you for presenting, Buzz. It was fascinating. And
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I thought so. I thought so. You deal with the genealogy a lot more than I do. That was kind of a fresh look for me. I'm sure if you have any questions for the genealogy club or would like to join, Buzz would be happy to help you.
Yeah.
I know he's in the directory, so
Thank you,
And
Bud.
by the way, as a commercial, I'd like to just mention that we do have a pretty extensive library in the computer room, and we share system number 7. And we have mentoring sessions that help people get started in doing this. So it's if you're interested in it, we'd be happy to get you on the way. And I see Sherry is here. And Sherry has, she won our last prize at our genealogy meeting. She got to have 4 or 5 of her questions answered. And so we've been working on those. And Sherry, I don't know if, are you okay with me mentioning a couple of interesting things? Yes, no? Okay. Well, one of them was I couldn't figure out why one of her relatives all of a sudden disappeared, and found out through some information from Sherry and looking at other data that he'd changed his name. Okay, and then his kids changed their name when they were involved in the prohibition area of running in. Some of them kept the new name, some of them changed them. It was really a challenge to follow that trail. Another one, I didn't find any good tracking through the family, but I looked at the death records and I got into the medical examiner's records, and the medical examiner's records said he died of a shot to the head. Oh, okay. Well, he got involved with Al Capone somehow, I was thinking. And then his mother came and forced the medical examiner to change his name back to the original family name. So that gave me the link down through the tree. It's you think about time frames. You've got to take facts and put them with time frames. Okay, so you look at the Civil War period, where we had total black regiments, and finding those records are like gold mines to many people of that heritage, because you can track it back through the military records. So it's really great. It's fun.
I have found DNA to be very helpful. I have found relatives, and in fact, that's how I found out how that whole line had changed their name, because I found a relative with that last name, the new name, and I contacted him and he told me the story of what had happened.
No, it's with these DNA databases, I had no way to find out where my original Brooks came from. Okay, and we did some testing with people in England, in Manchester, England, and found a Brooks line in Manchester, England, matched up our DNAs almost perfectly in Concord, Massachusetts. And then we could work back from Concord to Weymouth, Mass, back, but we haven't got the name of the ship yet. So, there's help in DNA. You might get some surprises though. Isn't that right, Sherry? When you check it, so.
Yeah, we haven't had any relatives appear that became, half brothers half sisters, half this or that. We haven't, but some people have really run. And I have a daughter-in-law who was adopted, and she's been real reticent to try and look up her genealogy, but her son is pressing her to do it. So be interesting to see what she does. She doesn't want to hurt her adopted parents in any way by looking up her family, but that brings up a real can of worms for people that have been adopted.
The
But if-
medical history can really be a weighing factor in that too, on researching that.
Actually, the reason I got started in the first place back in 1995, after I was diagnosed with breast cancer, that's how I started my genealogy. I wanted to see if there was any in the family because I was worried about my daughters. Turns out there wasn't, but that's what got me into genealogy in the first place.
Very interesting.
Okay,
Well,
back to you, Tim.
Well, I look forward to next month. I wish I could let you know better what we're going to do, but whatever it is, we'll try to make it fun. As always, thank you, Jenny. She's put in a lot of hours this last month trying to get us straightened out on that Comcast thing. And thank you to her. Thank you, Buzz, for presenting. And we'll
Thank
see
you
y'all
all.
next month. If you
Okay,
have any questions, give me a holler. Thank you for coming.